Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. A little bit of at-home show for personal reasons. But Crystal, what do we have today?
Yes, indeed we do. And we'll be back in the studio on Thursday, but a lot of stuff to get to this morning. We have more Elon Musk and Twitter news, new Twitter files dropped. I mean, it's funny because I think people have sort of lost interest in the Twitter files, but in some ways this was the most interesting one. The specific communications regarding the banning of any sort of links to the information about Hunter Biden's laptop. So we'll get into all of that. We also now officially have criminal referrals being made by the January 6th committee of Donald Trump and a few of his associates. So we have those details and everything that means. SBF has agreed to be extradited to the United States. At the same time, we have more information about exactly who he was donating to, which is very interesting to dig into as well. And this story, I'm sort of fascinated by. This new Republican congressman just won election, who apparently lied about literally every aspect of his bio, where he worked for, what his business is, where he lives. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. And so that is now coming out. We'll give you the details on that and his reaction. We also have a great moment with Don Lemon being told to his face the problems with CNN and mainstream news, and he doesn't take it all that well, Sagar. So that is what we're going to get into. But before we get to any of that, live show.
Live show. I hope it's not too loud as I shout into my microphone. That's right. Paramount Theater, Austin, Texas, Friday, February 3rd. We're going to have an awesome show there. We're going to do some fun stuff. While we're in Austin, we'll have great guests, and we've got a great thing planned. It's going to probably be the last one of the season. So if you're on the fence, if you want to buy a gift or anything like that, now is the time. Tickets are actually selling really, really well. So if you want to go ahead and grab your seat, now is the time, folks, before you get it into the new year. But let's start with Twitter. Of course, the Twitter files itself. There was some new and very interesting revelations put out by Michael Schellenberger, who's a part of Barry Weiss's The Free Press, with some revelations last night on the FBI and the Hunter Biden laptop story. So let's go ahead and put the first one up there on the screen, guys. This, in our view, is one of the most important ones. It shows that Jim Baker, who is a former FBI general counsel and actually a staffer over at Twitter, repeatedly insisted to Twitter staff that the Hunter Biden materials were either, quote, faked, hacked, or both, and it was a violation of Twitter policy. He did so in a Google Doc and over email, both on October 14th and on October 15th. The reason why this matters is that Baker was setting the pretext through the initial banning of the Hunter Biden laptop story from the New York Post and peddling obviously false lies both at the time and in the future that the Hunter Biden laptop story and the associated materials were, quote, hacked or some sort of disinformation. You guys will remember you had the intel community and others saying this bears all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, even though from day one, all Hunter had to say is it's not my laptop, it's not true, and it's all fake, of which he has never once said, and of which all of the materials now on the laptop have since been confirmed. Let's go to the next one there, guys, and put it up there on the screen, because it's also important to remember this. By 10 a.m., after the story had been dropped, already, within nearly an hour, Twitter executives had bought into the, quote, hack and dump story. Quote, the suggestion from experts, which rings true, is that there was a hack that happened separately, then they were loading the hacked materials on the laptop that then magically appeared at a repair shop in Delaware. So, Crystal, they're clearly twisting themselves into lengths and honestly creating an even more fantastic story than what actually happened as to why these are hacked materials in the first place. And then finally, the third element there, guys, please, which also just reveals here the deep connection between the FBI on the social media platforms that continues to this very day. On August 20th, in August of 2022, nearly 2 years after this, Twitter executives were still preparing for a meeting with the FBI, whose goal was to, quote, convince us to produce on more FBI EDRs. EDRs, they're defined as emergency disclosure requests, aka a warrantless search in which Twitter voluntarily hands over your and my and everybody else's information at the request of the FBI, possibly even for shitposting, for jokes, and it just shows again what they have we've known really from the very beginning. that there is a deep connection between the intelligence community and these social media companies. It goes deeper in some ways than we already know as to what they're curating and asking to be censored. But it is astounding to see this corrupt, FBI former general counsel, Jim Baker, directly playing a role in censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, now we have all the pieces sort of coming into place. We knew before from Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook/Meta that they had been primed to expect some sort of hack and dump operation from the deep state. So they had been warned something is coming, though they weren't told specifically about this Hunter Biden laptop situation. So when the Hunter Biden laptop information is revealed, they are all primed to think that this was a hack and dump rather than actually his laptop that actually got left at a computer repair shop. Same thing happened over at Twitter. So if you, Yoel Roth and others who are sort of primed by the deep state to expect some sort of hack and dump operation. So that's number one. Number two, when this actually happens, Yoel Roth is actually very skeptical that this should be banned from the platform, that this violates terms of service whatsoever. And it's actually Baker, who of course has those FBI ties, who really almost bullies and cajoles him into believing this more fantastical conspiratorial story about how this information was really because of a hack and it wasn't legitimate and it should therefore be banned. And then you see them taking these incredibly heavy-handed approach after the fact. So it's sort of, the FBI preps them for this. Baker, because he comes from that world, pushes the most conspiratorial, absurd interpretation of what this material ultimately is. And then Yoel Roth and others decide ultimately to act. That's the picture that's painted from this latest release.
Yeah, I think that's right. And that's why we wanted to lead with it, which is, and I know people are getting sick, including us, of talking about Elon and Twitter, but these are monumentally consequential events. I mean, we had a genuine election interference thing happened with Twitter where they just decided unilaterally to ban this story in a complete violation, really, of both their role as a quote unquote platform, moving totally into the publisher realm, and just setting the standard through which it's been exposed that the intelligence community has these deep underlying connections, of which, even if you don't care about the Hunter Biden laptop story, what we found out from Ken Klippenstein and from the Intercept's reporting on the DHS, this is including Biden, any criticism of Biden on the Afghan withdrawal, quote unquote, COVID misinformation, of which, by the way, I'm still very much waiting for some of those Twitter files to be released. I would really love to see some of the lab leak censorship, some of the other COVID censorship that happened within. And we're also just learning that as capricious as Elon was, he's a single individual. They had a bureaucratic capriciousness as well, in which they're straight up admitting many of these things don't abide by their own or don't violate their own policies. And then we're also seeing the FBI just basically preparing the ground to get Twitter to censor whatever they want and browbeating them to the point where they're even making pro-censorship figures uncomfortable, Crystal, with their monumental number of requests that they're sending over their way.
Yeah, and I think the other piece that really becomes clear here as we put all these pieces together is just what incredible levels of evil were spawned by Russiagate, both in terms of the FBI and the expanded powers that they took on and the expanded reach in terms of, hey, we now feel like we need to police every bad joke that's tweeted out from our own citizens. And then also the conception of these social media companies in terms of how they should be moderating content. Because if it wasn't for their idea of, foreign interference from 2016, they would not have had this policy in place. Yoel Roth directly says, after we learned what happened in 2016, we need to take action here. I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically the idea. So you can see the way that Russiagate was used and perverted to hand both the social media companies and the deep state much more power and much more reach into our individual lives and into our sort of small d democratic speech. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Soccer and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.